My Hero Academia, Chapter 226, Blood of Love. I love this chapter so much. This is such a good one. I mean, they just keep coming. Like, this arc just keeps getting better and better. And I don't know, I'm just enjoying it so much. I mean, as this chapter was going on, I was a little iffy about where it was going. But by the end of it, I was like audibly cheering. Oh my god, I just love this so much. Let's get into it. So the chapter is opening up with more of Toga's past, and I assume we're looking at a news report of her very first murder. I assume this has to be it because we saw in the previous chapter the quote-unquote mask that she had been wearing had broken, and then we saw like the box cutter in her hand and whatnot, and she was also in school. So I assume that this is definitely when that happened because it lines up with what Curious was talking about in the previous chapter about how after middle school or whatever school she was in, I guess around like before the students got into UA, whatever that school is, middle school I suppose, that's when she like totally just went MIA and became the Toga Himiko that she is today. But wow, pretty damn dark. This is definitely going into like the overhaul arc territory because we see her straight up drinking some dude's blood with a straw, and she has like this depraved, crazy look on her face. Very cool, you know, very fitting for her character. I like this sequence, but pretty damn dark, especially for some shonen stuff. But you know, maybe the times are changing because you know the Promised Neverland is kind of pretty dark in its own way. But regardless, I assume that this person, Saito-kun that they're referring to here, that we see her slurping the blood of, I'm assuming that this is like that Izuku-looking dude that we saw in the previous chapter for just like one panel. Of course, we don't get more into it and we don't establish it. And it's very possible that we might never know. And we're just, based off context clues, just supposed to assume that she really likes Izuku because she reminds her of her first kill. But also, you know, because Stain accepts him. But it could be because of like that, and that would be, you know, pretty interesting. So we're also seeing her as a young child, like a toddler, and Curious goes more into her backstory, talking about how, you know, like society wasn't able to help her, and that it's because of her quirk that she's become the way that she is. And I don't really necessarily think that's the case. I think Curious is kind of just being too lenient here and giving her the benefit of the doubt. So yes, there is a correlation to blood-related quirks and like being a psychopath. I mean, because like Stain is a good example. Stain has the only other quirk in this series that is even comparable to Toga's, and he is also a psychopath. So maybe they go hand in hand. Like if your quirk requires you to consume blood in some manner, maybe it just makes you more, or should I say, less empathetic than the typical person. I mean, she even has fangs. And the fangs are, of course, to aid in her quirk. So maybe they go hand in hand. The only other quirk related to blood that we have seen so far, besides Stain and Toga, is from Vlad King. And Vlad King, of course, is not a friggin' psychopath, but of course he doesn't have to consume blood. His quirk just allows him to control his own, or at least that's what we know so far. He, too, interestingly enough, has fangs, but they're like an underbite. Not sure why he has them. Maybe they're just for aesthetic. But regardless, I think this more so goes into Toga just being simply born a psychopath. Like, sometimes people are just born that way. Your brain has a specific wiring, and, you know, you just turn out to be, like, some kind of crazy serial killer. I mean, of course, there is, like, the whole nature over nurture, nurture over nature thing, but this more or less just seems like Toga just had really unfortunate, you know, fate at the hands of her quirk and, you know, the way that she was born. Because, you know, we see her with the bird when she's a kid and she kills the bird. And I don't know if you guys have ever, like, looked into, like, psychopath and serial killer stuff, but it's always, like, comes down to them, like, killing animals as a kid. That's, like, the #1 indicator that someone is a psychopath or something like that. So we're seeing that from Toga. So I think it's just a mixture here. Like, she is born that way, but also her quirk is probably aiding in it as well. But other than that, we're seeing the first instance of the Detonarat equipment being used. And we see Curious use it against Toga, her high-quality chain ring, Curious Pink. And I've just been waiting for this to happen because we knew it was going to, because as soon as we found out about the Detnerat company, it was revealed that they were in equipment and hero support and stuff like that. So I called it, like, I'm not even I called it. It just, like I said, it's easy to assume that from the beginning, these guys, the Liberation Army, were going to be using some crazy equipment on top of their quirks. And this is the second instance of us seeing it since the Seltzer quirk gang in chapter 219 and 218. And this is a pretty cool thing. I'm not even really sure what to make of it. It's like a gauntlet fist thing that has an ability to, like, explode or something. It's not exactly shooting like a shotgun, because Toga's head would have been blown off, but I don't know. The translation that I'm reading doesn't really give too much away. It just says Detnerat Company, high quality chain ring, curious punk. So if you're like reading another translation, or you have a better understanding of what this is, please let me know. But yeah, it just like it seems like if you punch something with it, it like shoots a blast of something out or something, because there is smoke off of Toga's face. Nonetheless, pretty cool. But this is just, I think, the beginning, because the other, I don't know what you can call them, the generals of the Liberation Army, or the lieutenants, or the commanders, that's better, the commanders. I think we're going to see most of the commanders using the equipment, and I assume that Reed Destro is probably going to have the most boss equipment of everyone, so look out for that. That's going to be pretty cool. Also, after she blasts Toga in the face, we get this cool panel that's like an accidental renaissance of like Curious holding Toga and all of her followers behind her. Pretty cool. So other than that, Toga's able to break away momentarily, and we see that Curious kind of got under her skin, just rehashing the past and just assuming that she knows everything about her in and out. But Toga is relaying to not only her, but also is narrating as well that, that's not the case. Toga is completely happy with the way that she lives. Yes, she does have an unfortunate life, but she doesn't really see it that way. When she smiles, she is legitimately happy, and she akins her bloodlust to people kissing when they are in love. So basically, just kissing the way that we normal people do is sucking blood to her, and just it makes sense and is justified in her own psychopathic kind of way. So now let's get into the amazing portion of this chapter. Like, wow, I love this so much. So she suddenly starts transforming into Uraraka, and I wasn't sure at first why she was doing this. Was it just out of desperation or something, or was she going to try to run away and then blend in somehow? But then I was like, there's no blending in. Like, there's no place to hide, there's no place to run. You're in a city where literally 80% or 90% of the people there are against you. So there's really no place to go. So I wasn't sure what she was going to do with this. But then it is revealed that she can freaking use Uraraka's quirk. And wow, when this happened, I was just blown away. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe that she could do this. Because I always kind of felt bad for Toga. Because her quirk, while it is good, it's not really, that good compared to the people that she's up against, and especially compared to the rest of her colleagues, I'll say. Of course, Twice has a similar quirk in the category of utility that she does, but now we're seeing that she can just straight up totally copy the ability, or should I say the quirk of the person that she has acquired the blood from as well. So let me try to explain this the way that I personally saw it. So yes, Curious does say that it appears that she evolved her quirk driven by her fear of death. But Toga goes on to say that no, that's not it. And then she says, her crazy psychopathic stuff. So that, in combination with Toga prematurely turning into Uraraka, leads me to believe that Toga has always had this ability. She could always use the quirk of the people that she copies. However, she just doesn't do it because she doesn't understand the quirks right off the bat. Because she goes on to say that she had learned how Uraraka uses her quirk. She had studied her. So that's how she's able to do it. And that's why we didn't see her use Cammy's quirk or whoever else she had copied, because she just didn't know how they worked, or she just didn't care enough and she just wanted to use it as like a utility aspect for it, just stealth and whatnot. So before I go any further into this, let me just also talk about her stealth skills, because in the previous chapter I was really curious about how she learned these things, and I thought there was going to be much more to it, because it was built up, because like I said, Izuku asks Shiketsu High specifically about it because he was so impressed about this skill when she explains it to him at the provisional license arc when she's in Kami mode. But based off of what we're seeing here, like when she's running through the crowd of the Liberation Army dudes and she's touching them so that they, become 0G, she says, all my days being chased by the police and the heroes, I've become attuned to how the people around me behave, and I can't help it. That's also why she dresses like a schoolgirl, so that, people would be nicer to her. But then she says, all to avoid being caught. So I guess that she learned her crazy assassin skills and her quickness and agility and her stealthness just out of necessity. So she's pretty much self-taught, I guess, just being on the run her whole life, or for the last 2 years, I suppose, or however long after she initially murdered that Izuku clone dude. At least that's the vibe that I'm getting here. Of course, there could be more to her backstory. I mean, there definitely is, but there could be like another aspect where she learns from somebody or something. I think that would be cool, like I said before, but just off of here, it seems like she might be self-taught. So now let's go back to her using the quirk. This whole sequence is incredible. Her just going around. Well, first of all, she just counters Curious's gauntlet punch, and then she just runs around and starts tapping everybody with the quickness, and then they all just start floating. Oh my god, I just love this so much. Just so friggin' well done. And then, of course, she clasps her hands together, and they all just come down and splatter. Amazing. One of the best sequences in this series so far, in my opinion, and for sure one of the most violent as well, but very fitting of Toga. It also shows you just how friggin' scary Uraraka's quirk is. Like, Uraraka is just a walking, just murder bomb at any moment. She could just do this anytime she really wanted to, and I'm sure she could do it even better because she's more accustomed to her quirk and probably knows way more about it than what Toga initially does. And also, fun little fact, in the My Hero Volume 19, like one of the little bonus pages that we get, it shows prototype Toga. And on that page, it says initially that she could use the quirks of the people that she becomes. So I guess, Horikoshi always had this in mind for her. He always knew that she was going to be able to do this, so that's pretty awesome. Also, the younger Toga that we see in this chapter, just for one panel when her hair is it's let down in a way. That's also how prototype Toga initially looked too. So a lot of cool callbacks here to the Volume 19 bonus page that we're getting. So other than Uraraka, she also says that she has a little bit of Izuku's blood left. Does this mean that she can use All for One? I'm going to say probably not. This is probably going to have the same effect that we saw with Monoma. He couldn't use stockpiling quirks, so I assume it works the same for her. If not, we're looking at an extremely broken ability here. This ability is already incredible. The ability to copy a quirk is crazy, but the ability to become someone and just use their quirk for the time allowed it is amazing. So, she could just take Tomura's blood and use Tomura's crazy decay quirk if she wants. I'm sure that's where things are headed. But now that we know that Toga can do this, she's just become that more significantly powerful and more of an asset for the league. So the last few panels, we see Toga walking away from just the bloodbath that she caused. She likens her beat up body and self to how Izuku was when she first saw him. I thought that was a nice little callback. But then she says that she doesn't just want to kill for the sake of some big guy at the top. I assume she's referring to Tomura here. But then she's like, I just can't help it after all. He's going to destroy everything that I don't like. So I think this is letting us know that she is more so just fully all in on Tomura now. She is fully under his control. She has full faith in him. She's definitely 100% an underling and a full-fledged member of the League of Villains by now, if she wasn't already. And also, you know, Curious is for sure dead now, so one of the commanders of the Liberation Army are done. And she was a cool character. I liked her a lot. You know, came and went quickly, but you know, that's the way it goes sometimes in this series. So who's up next? I have no idea. Next week, it's going to be Golden Week in Japan, so we're not going to be getting a chapter, so it's going to be 2 weeks until the next one, unfortunately. But who's going to come back in? I don't know, maybe Spinner, possibly? You know, Spinner has been the subject of focus in this arc so far, so maybe we'll get more into Spinner. But it could be twice as well. I don't think it'll be Mr. Compress. I think he's probably going to team up with someone. And then, of course, Tomura will be left likely for last, but we'll see what happens. Other than that, I love this chapter so much. Please let me know what you think about it. Let me know what you think about Toga's backstory and the new friggin' crazy reveal of the full ability of her quirk. Wow. So many possibilities going into this. Also, if you liked the video, please give it a like. I also have a Patreon. It gives you access to a Discord server. We do Hangouts on there. I got a weekly Q&A video that I do on this channel every week. Gives you access to that. And also, if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day, everyone. I'll see you in the next one.